The news. Gilead Sciences says it is aware of positive data emerging from the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases study of the investigational antiviral Remdesivir.
Yeah, look at the Dow.
Yeah, watch this. So the Remdesivir drug had been treatment for COVID-19. Remember, this has been all over the map. You had heard the positive things coming out of that University of Chicago study. Then a couple days later, we heard from the World Health Organization saying China was ending that study. But remember, there weren't enough patients left in China to still continue this. So this is the NIAID story. The Dow up almost 400 points, up 400 points on this news that it looked like that study showed that there was some positive news using Remdesivir for the treatment of COVID-19. They say they understand the trial has met its primary endpoint.
Right.
And that they will provide detailed information at an upcoming briefing.
This is the one
Remdesivir.
This is the one that Meg was talking about as well, that we were waiting for this. We knew it was going to come this week. There's no control group, I think Meg pointed out, so it's not going to be perfect. But after the China news put a damper on that stat report that came out about those 123 patients that had much better, very few mortalities, that came out. Then the China study came out. As you pointed out, it was ended not because it wasn't working necessarily. It was ended because it didn't have enough
patients left.
And Kramer, to his credit, said, "Do not, And remember that day he was like vociferous about not listening to China in terms of some of these trials. Yeah. This is still. We don't know that much, although meeting a primary endpoint. Meeting a primary endpoint is pretty significant.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Meeting a primary endpoint, and that is, again, for the NIAID study. Remdesivir, or Gilead's been running a second study, its own study, for a shorter 5-day duration of therapy, because the one that we're talking about today from the government, that one is a 10-day study treatment course that was evaluated in trial. But Gilead has its own data that's going to be coming out for the 5- and 10-day dosing durations of Remdesivir in patients, and that's going to be coming later in May. So we'll be hearing more about that then, too. Again, the Dow future's up by 365, and I haven't seen where Gilead shares are.
It's halted. But remember also that
I thought they opened it up again.
Did they open it? Remember that?
Let me go back and look.
They did. We have asked Dr. Scott Gottlieb about this a lot. He has pointed out that there's reason to believe that it could be effective. With Ebola, it was somewhat effective, but not as effective as antibody drugs for Ebola. But Dr. Gottlieb pointed out it inhibits viral replication, and it was being used on very sick patients. The very sick patients are sick because of the autoimmune response in their lungs. So you would need to use something like this, presumably before the virus had actually taken hold, where you're hurting viral replication.
And that's been the thing. You got to use it earlier.
To use it early. So it might not be expected to be quite as positive with very sick patients.
Joe, the complicated part, though, about this Remdesivir drug is if, in fact, and we need to watch for this, if, in fact, it needs to be used early. As you know, this is intravenous. This isn't in a pill form, at least not yet. And so if the whole idea of its success is about its early use, that becomes more complicated. Again, back to this issue of we want a drug that will give people confidence. If you need to take it within the first 24 hours or 48 hours of getting it, that becomes more complicated because most people
don't even know you have it. You don't even know you have it.
Right. So we do need to see sort of what at what point and what stage you need to take it for it to be effective. I think that's going to be a big part of this.
Yeah, we even had...
And effectively, if they can ever put it in some kind of different form.
These studies haven't been used on people early. They've been used on people who are in the hospital, and most of them have been pretty sick.
Right.
The doctor from the Mayo Clinic the other day mentioned a lot of these things being used prophylactically as well. So, and that would be... Even if it was a pill and it became I don't know whether that's, I have no idea whether that's potentially possible, but, this, better than Gilead coming out and saying that it didn't meet. I mean, if you're hoping that we do get something, but it's better in that respect. Bad if you don't want anything to happen and if they have bad news. But anyway, let's get to Meg Terrell on this Gilead news. Meg, just take it away.
Well, hi, Joe. This is not the information we were expecting from Gilead this morning. What we were expecting was for Gilead to read out its own trial results in severe patients with COVID-19. And in fact, this may actually be better news because the NIH trial is the one that's considered the gold standard because it was double-blind and placebo-controlled, whereas Gilead's Severe trial was not placebo-controlled. And so what they're saying is that they're aware of positive data emerging from that NIH study of Remdesivir. They understand that the trials met its primary endpoint, and NIH will provide detailed information at an upcoming briefing. And they're going to have their own data, they say, shortly, and that'll inform whether the correct dose would be 5 days or 10 days, which would dramatically impact how much supply of this medicine could be available. If it's a 5-day course, you have twice as much of the drug to be able to give to patients. So the fact that the NIH study met its primary goal is very good news because that is the gold standard study, guys. So we're going to wait to hear more about when this briefing from the NIH comes. But a good update and not what we were expecting to hear from Gilead. And we should get more data in just the next day or two from Gilead itself, guys.
I was referencing you, Megan, and that it wasn't controlled. So that was the other one you were pointing out. This is not that. So this is actually, as you say, this could actually be more positive since it was double-blind controlled. So that's now. When do we expect to hear from the other stuff? The stuff we were expecting from Gilead.
Right. What we were expecting to hear today or tomorrow. Well, so we were expecting the NIH trial by late May. So this is a month ahead of schedule for the NIH trial to read out. Gilead's first trial was supposed to read out today or tomorrow, and probably still is. So we're still waiting on that data, but we're getting the NIH look a lot earlier than expected, and they're saying that it was positive.
Yeah, Gilead is not
probably
trading.
Worth pointing out, too. Yeah, it's not trading. I was just going to say that it's not trading. But if you're watching the Dow futures, the Dow was up by 400 points when this first came out. It's now up by about 351 points. But you did see automatically a huge boost just in the Dow futures overall and the markets overall. So I'm kind of wondering what will happen to Gilead shares when they do start trading. That stock closed yesterday at $78.67.